Hi, and welcome to the Jenspiration Conversation. My name is Jennifer, and if this is the first time one of my videos has landed in your feed, I very much welcome you to this space. It means that you clicked on it for a reason. The universe's algorithm has put it in your line of sight because it's like, hey, there's something in here for you. So thank you for clicking and coming in to sit and have a little conversation. Returning viewers and subscribers, I am so deeply grateful for your time and energy and for returning to come back and hang out with us here at the channel and talk all things spiritual, where we keep it street. Street spirituality has become the brand, and I'm just so eternally grateful that you've decided to come back. So, today's video is probably going to be a little bit longer than my normal videos. So obviously when it's posted, you're going to see the timestamp. So if the timestamp scares you and you're like, I don't have that kind of time, that's okay. You can move on from the video. But I feel like those that are drawn here are going to be drawn here specifically because of the topic. So if you want to pause me, go get your favorite drink. I invite you to pull up a chair at my kitchen table. It's a beautiful, beautiful spring day here in Atlantic Canada because we are going to talk all about bullying and the long-term effects of bullying. When I sat down to get ready for filming today, I always kind of just drop into a little space of meditation and I ask Spirit to help me, guide me through the video, keep me safe through the video. And I was getting dressed and doing my hair, and you'll probably notice if you've watched other videos, like I set up an aesthetic that's, you know, kind of pleasing to the eye, because returning viewers know I have a home staging business, so I have a lot of like decor. But all of a sudden I put black on, and I put my black onyx beads for protection, because I am going to be talking about people who've hurt me. I felt the need to just kind of put a little layer of protection on, even though the aesthetic is light. I felt the need to put some protection on. So that's already an indicator that, you know, I'm meant to make this video, but I still want to protect my energy while I talk about other people. It's not my favorite thing to do, to talk about people, but it's important for this video. I also have a sound frequency on in the background just to keep my energy calm. So I'm going to title the video, "It's Not Your Fault." Because first and foremost, before I get into anything at all, I'm going to get closer. If you are someone who has experienced any form of bullying, whether that was as a kid, as a teenager, as an adult, from friends, your family, your partner, people you work with, because yes, workplace bullying is a thing. It still exists to this day. I need you to hear me. It is not your fault. Okay? It is not your fault. None of it is your fault. How they treated you is not your fault. How they made you feel is not your fault. How long it took you to get over them is not your fault. The long-term effects that they've had on your life is not your fault. Please hear me when I say that. As we get through this video today, please understand that none of it is your fault. Whatever you're experiencing right now, or you have experienced, if you haven't healed it yet, I promise you it's not your fault, because I had to learn that. I had to learn that none of it was my fault. Okay? None of it is your fault. Please, please, please hear me when I say that. I don't want to go all over the place with this video. I probably should have taken some notes, but okay, so yes, when I was connecting with Spirit to keep me kind of safe as I was working my way through the video, I thought to myself, you know what? Just make a generic video about the long-term effects of bullying and call it a day. But I can't do that. I want to give you specific examples because I think bullying is a topic that needs to be discussed more. Because when I grew up, it was pre-social media. So there was that level of bullying. But now there is an entire new diabolical chapter of cyberbullying where these keyboard warriors just go to town on you because they can, and they can hide behind their keyboards. Well, pre-social media, when I was growing up, it was to your face or behind your back, and you would hear it in the rumor mill or passing notes in class or tee-heeing or stop talking when you come near them. I mean, that still happens in the workplace. People talk about people in the workplace all the time. It's like a small ecosystem in the workplace. That's the one common thing that ties you and your colleagues together is not the work you do, it's the people you work with. And I got caught up in that. You trauma bond. You talk to other people about other people, and you think that you're forming these deep, meaningful friendships, but when you don't work at that place anymore, you never talk to those people again. I mean, I've experienced that. I worked with people for over a decade, and I thought I had these deep relationships with them. But when I removed myself from the workplace, I was like, all I literally talked to these people about was other people. And I didn't like myself for that. I didn't like that aspect of my personality because I was contributing to the silent bullying, right? Because even though I wasn't saying anything specifically to these people's faces, talking about someone behind their back, it's a form of bullying, right? Gossiping, this, that, and the other thing is still a form of bullying. So while I've had it done to me, I did participate in the office gossip, if you will. So if you are in a toxic workplace, which I'm pretty sure 99% of you are, because I can't think of a single workplace that doesn't have this. I've worked in lots of them. If you can, take one thing away from this video is just to maybe be a bit more mindful of those relationships that you form with your colleagues based around talking about other people. So I'm just going to put that part of the video aside and just say that it happens, it exists. Your boss can bully you, your colleagues can bully you, your supervisors can bully you, the owner of the company can bully you. And then you, as you try to, navigate some of that bullying, you can form these trauma bonds with these colleagues, but in fact, you're just perpetuating the bullying because you're sitting around talking about people, which is a form of bullying. I realized that a long time ago. Through some healing, I was like, man, I got bullied a lot, but I did participate in the gossip. So it's one thing I had to heal and self-reflect about myself. So if you are finding yourself in an office that is a little bit toxic that way, if you can try to like look at it from a higher perspective and see what you're contributing. Or listen to me, if you are a bully, you might need to put yourself in check a little bit. If you are, stomping around trying to mark your territory, if you will, or if you're a boss that leads with dictatorship, I'm here to say that you're a bully in the workplace. The premise of this video, though, was to talk about the long-term effects of bullying that is like systematic over time. So just going to put that office one to the side. Typically, bullying can start in childhood. It can even start in the home. You can be bullied by a parent. You can be bullied by a sibling, by a caretaker, by your grandmother, by your neighbor. Bullies tend to prey, I don't like that word, but on empaths, sensitive souls, sensitive children. They prey on them because they know that, here's the weak one in the herd. I can attach myself and kind of control and manipulate this person with backhanded comments, gaslighting, breadcrumbing. Usually it's narcissists who kind of work their way into your life, see you as an empath, that they can suck your energy and then control you with bullying. And bullying for me has come in many forms. It's come in actual insults, but it's also come in those backhanded comments where you're like, wait, did she just legit throw shade at me, but with the most beautiful smile on her face? The answer is yes. People can do that. People can throw shade at you while grinning from ear to ear. Or it's those half compliments like, oh my God, you wore that today? Cute. Probably not appropriate, but cute. You're like, okay, that was manipulation and bullying in that sweet, condescending form. I've had that. So let's start from the beginning, because the premise of the video is to share with you that if you are an adult and you're struggling through life with having your voice heard, stepping up and being seen, moving yourself to the front of the pack, like being a leader or applying for a supervisor job, or putting yourself out there creatively, or standing up in front of people and sharing your ideas, or speaking up at work, it probably stems from a long time ago when you were systematically bullied by all kinds of people in your life who over the course of time just closed your throat chakra. They shut down your sacral chakra. They shut down your emotions. They shut down your expression because you were told you weren't good enough, weren't pretty enough, weren't smart enough, would never be successful. They picked you out of the herd because they knew and saw how maybe light and bright and sensitive that you were. Or bullies will also notice if a teacher or someone is giving you extra attention that's not on them. They'll be like, whoa, wait a minute, no, that needs to be on me. So I'm going to knock that person down a peg or two so that, they feel like shit. And then over time, I can't tell you how systematic over time it can have such long-term effects on you as an adult, because I am walking, living proof of it. I am walking proof that systematic bullying, right up until my adulthood, I struggled with making connections, especially with women. Women are mean, okay? And they are mean to each other. And I have, to this day, struggled with making friends with women, because I'm going to just take a drink. Hold on. All of my bullies were women, girls, teenagers, young adult women. And systematically, over time, if I trusted a woman and allowed her into my life in whatever form it was, a work colleague, a friendship, whatever, they tore me down and they knocked me down. And every time I would dip my toe into trusting a woman, it was obviously the wrong one. And I would get hit with more bullying and more knocking me down and making me feel like I wasn't good enough, because these people, what I've come to understand now through my healing and my journey, is they were threatened by my light. And I am not bragging here at all. I have come to learn through intense research on this topic, intense, deep work, and going back and looking at each of the significant bullies in my life, and I very meticulously thought back and looked at the relationship and dissected it, and I realized that every single one of them was threatened by my natural light. I have a natural ability to just connect with people, and I didn't know that before, and I didn't know that people were just drawn to me, okay? And I've realized that now as a 48-year-old woman who has had to heal the deepest wounds that bullies have instilled in me, and helping me realize that I am worth it, that it's okay to be a light, it's okay to shine, and it's okay to walk around the world and take up space. I made myself small for decades because I never wanted to outshine anyone around me because they didn't want me to. They didn't allow me to. I turned my light off. Every time I met a new female in my life, she turned my light off. And I let her. And I let them for decades. And guys, when I tell you I just learned this a few years ago, Even sitting here now on camera, when I put this video up on YouTube, there will be a small part of me that still tries to say, don't do that. You're going to get made fun of. People are going to come at you in the comments. What if one of your bullies from a long time ago sees it? I don't care. Okay? I don't care anymore, because I do not have to succumb to and believe the things that my bullies have instilled in me for decades. I'm 48 years old, and I just healed some of my bully wounds about 2 years ago. So that is a long time to carry the effects of bullying, a very long time. So I want you to know that I am sending you so much healing energy through this video, that if you are someone, men or women, it doesn't matter, if you are someone who has had bullies in your life, who have systematically chopped you down or made you feel less than, it will take a while to heal. It'll take a while to get through the mud. It'll take a while to figure out the why. What I've come to heal through my bullying journey is these people were here to teach me some of the most the most harsh karmic lessons. I've obviously had, in this lifetime, I've had to heal some really deep karmic debt when it came to females and self-worth and speaking up and taking up space and not being afraid of my light and who I am and what I am in the world. Those have been my lessons. All of these bullies that have come into my life, the universe put them there because they were like, girl, you are going to learn some really harsh karmic lessons from these people. You are going to learn to speak up for yourself. And through these bullies, you're going to learn beautiful boundaries. Because I just did a video on, I titled it Softer and Stronger. And it's kind of tying in nicely. I didn't realize that. But I have allowed myself to feel all the things. I've allowed myself to go there through the emotions and understand what these bullies were here to teach me. So I am still strong. I still have really strong boundaries, but it hasn't jaded me. I'm not walking around the world completely closed off. It's taken me a while to let my light just kind of exist where it is and take up space. But the journey and the healing has made me strong and allowed me to create boundaries. But I don't like, this is my boundary, don't cross it. No. I have boundaries and I put them up when I feel there is a need for them. But I've also been really proud of myself, even the past 6 months, how much I've spoken up. I've struggled with, I'm a business owner, and I've struggled with some clients who don't pay me on time, and they just kind of take advantage, and they think, oh, Jennifer's nice, she won't mind. No, I've stepped up and I've really spoken up for myself. And sometimes I can't believe it. Sometimes I'm like, did I just say that? And I'm like, yeah, girl, you did. Because you've healed that wound where your voice was completely shut off and closed. Decades of bullying will do that to you. It'll close your throat chakra and you just won't say anything. I did it in romantic relationships. I was getting treated like absolute garbage, but I never said anything because I always had to be the cool girl, and I had to be the quintessential perfect girlfriend and never cause drama. And, guys I date would bitch about their crazy ex-girlfriends, and I'd be like, okay, well, I can't be like her, so let me just stay over here and not take up too much space, and don't upset him, and don't say too much, and let me just overgive. Because another side effect of bullying is that you will overgive. You will people please till your ass falls off, because you want people to like you, right? You're just it's so ingrained in you that my worth is attached to people liking me. And so I would just latch on to my bullies and just be like, I have to keep this friendship. I have to make this person happy. And I have to go along with this. And I was just, God, when I think about it now, I'm like, wow, I'm such a different person than I was before. So bullies can start right in the house. You can get bullied by your parents, your sibling, like I said, your neighbor or caretaker. And it starts off small. It starts off, what are you crying about? Why are you upset? You have nothing to be upset about. Stop it. You have a roof over your head and there's food on the table. Stop it. Or, you come home from school and maybe you want to talk about what happened, and that got shut down pretty quick. Okay, listen, there's way more important things in the world. There's people starving in other countries, and you're upset about something that she said to you. Get over it. And then you're like, okay, well, I guess I'm supposed to get over it. So it shuts you down. It shuts down your emotions, and it shuts down your voice, so that over time you start saying less. You start feeling less. You're pretending that you're feeling a whole bunch, but you pretend like you're not feeling anything. And then you go into, okay, well, I have to please this person now, so let me just overgive and shut down my actual feelings. And you know what? They're probably right. I am too sensitive, or I'm too this, or I'm too that, or whatever. We're so impressionable when we're kids that it just continues to build and build and build and mount and mount and mount over the years. So mine started in school. It started with, anyone who is a Gen Xer and older would know this, that our schools, and I think schools are still like this, they're pretty cliquey. Like there's, the popular kids, the nerdy kids, whatever. There was always cliques, and I didn't fit anywhere. Like I didn't know where to go. I was like bouncing. I didn't know where I fit. I felt like I had to belong somewhere. So I was like, well, where do I go? And, the popular girls invited me to sleepovers, and I was shocked. But, I would get to the sleepover, and the minute I got to the sleepover, it was, let's just make Jennifer's life miserable. And they made fun of me and, cut my hair in the middle of the night and hid all my clothes so I couldn't get dressed and leave the next day. Or I showed up and they were already doing something, and when I tried to join them, I was just completely shunned. This happened all the time. And then I got to high school, and what am I at for time? 24 minutes. Okay. My camera cuts out at 29 minutes, so I'm just going to speak for a couple minutes and then I'll pause and start again, because I just want to share with you one story about one particular bully over the course of years and how much of an impact this one person had on my life. So, yes, if you can relate to that, elementary, junior high, just not feeling like you belong and feeling like your uniqueness was something to hide, or your light that you had was something to hide, or if you just were bouncing and you weren't quite sure where you fit. Here's the thing, you don't have to fit anywhere. I don't like the word fit in. And I remember I went to a guidance counselor because for some reason my parents thought it was my fault. So I was getting bullied, and the way the school approached it was I needed counseling, not the girls doing the bullying. It was I needed counseling. So here I was, completely like trying to be myself and just trying to go to school. And I was a good student too. And teachers liked me, and I got really good grades, and I got made fun of for that. Like, you know, the papers would get passed out and they would be like, oh, here comes Jennifer's, you know, in Canada, we didn't get A's and B's. We got like 95%, 99%, whatever. And I was a smart kid and I did well in school, and they made fun of me for that. And I was like, oh gosh, like maybe I should try to like get a bad grade on my test so that I can fit in. Like, honestly, this is my poor little teenage brain going, don't be so smart. Like, try to get a bad grade. Anyway, to come back to the counseling, I was going home and telling it was mainly my mother, about the bullies, because I was getting, you know, someone drank grape juice and spit all over my white pants, and, you know, they stole my lock and combination, and like they stole my books, and I got like they wrapped my hair around the swings, and guys, it was awful. And so they put me in counseling, and the guidance counselor, God bless her, she was like near death. She was in her late 70s, still working at a junior high school, trying to counsel kids. And the very first session, I can remember this as clearly as it was yesterday. I'm sitting across from her, and she says to me, I need to try harder to fit in. She said, Jennifer, you are standing out because you're different. You have to try to fit in with these girls. This is the advice I was getting in the 80s. I need to fit in. And I hate those words. Fit in. Fit into what? Fit into their cliquey circle that was just mean to people? No, thank you. I didn't want to. And I remember leaving that session going, I don't want to be like them. I have to be like them. I have to be like them so that I don't get bullied. And my little teenage brain was trying to process this. And it was just such a struggle that I was just like, well, no. But I said, okay. So the guidance counselor said, the next time you go to a sleepover, you know, try to fit in. Well, the next time I went to a sleepover is the night that they cut my hair. I was sleeping and they took a big chunk of my hair off. Okay. Like, needless to say, whenever I got invited to another sleepover, I just told my mother, sorry, I got cut off there. It's the camera. Needless to say, anytime I got invited to a sleepover, I always just pretended I was sick because I just didn't want to go there. So not only was I getting bullied, but I had a guidance counselor who told me that I needed to fit in. So this is just systematically like coming at me, right? That for some reason I had to change. It was me. I was the problem. So when I have adults and people in my life telling me that it's my fault, and if this has happened to you, you can completely relate to what I'm saying. You will start to think it is me. Okay, it is me. I have to shrink and make myself smaller. It is me. So I left junior high and I went to high school, and I literally fell into that. I was like, it's me. So I have to change and mold and just be better so that I'll fit in. In high school, I made friends with this girl who, when I say we became attached at the hip, we became attached at the hip. This girl and I were together 24/7. She was constantly at my house every night for dinner. She slept over even on school nights. We took the bus together. She was one grade behind me, so we didn't have any classes together. But like every break, every lunch, every weekend, my parents took this girl on vacation. It was a running joke that she became their other daughter because I just have a brother. I don't have a sister. And I mean, when I think about what my parents did for this girl, it was always an extra plate at dinner. And as an adult, I understand, like, that's money. It was always an extra plate. It was always my dad checking her homework too. And then it was her sleeping over every weekend. And like, we needed pocket money for this. And like, we wanted to go to the movies. And then every vacation, this girl came on with us. So when we spent all of our summers together from like the last day of school to the first day of school, and then the cycle just repeated. When I say this girl and I were together 24/7, we were together 24/7. And we did all the things that girls do. We talked about mostly boys, and, we got into a little bit of trouble and all of that kind of stuff. So we were inseparable, okay? I told this girl everything. I told this girl hopes and dreams and fears and all of these things because I thought this is what friendship is. I told her about a boy that I had a massive crush on. And when I say massive crush, to this day, I've never had a crush that felt like I do for that particular boy. And he was, and in my mind still is, sweet and kind and considerate. And he was a little bit quiet, and he was athletic, and he had like really good friends, and I just crushed hard. And I talked about him a lot. And she knew who I had a crush on. Obviously, I told her. And so I spent days upon days upon days fantasizing like what it would be like to have this guy as my boyfriend. And when you're in high school, again, this is the 90s, guys, like pre-social media and stuff, right? So we didn't have the technology like we do now. I remember very vividly one afternoon, I couldn't find her in our usual meeting spot. And I know some of you are, if you're still here, thank you, by the way, for listening to these stories. I don't even know if half of you are going to stay this long into the video, but if you are, thank you for letting me share this. I really appreciate it. So those of you that are still here, I know you know where this story is going. I couldn't find her at lunch where we usually meet, and so I went looking for her, and I walked up to her locker. And there was, people, because it was lunchtime, and there was people walking by, and it was like a scene out of a movie. Like the people just parted, and all of a sudden I saw her, and she had her arms all like wrapped around my crush. And he was like kind of hugging her back, and they were like facing each other. And she turned to the side and she saw me. And as soon as she saw me, she just completely latched on and gave him a giant kiss right in front of me. And I didn't know what to do. Like, look, I can't even talk. Like, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I was frozen in time. And so I just turned and I walked away, and I went and ate lunch alone and cried. And then I tried to go to my next class, and I think we had 2 or 3 more classes, and then school was done. And like, this girl came to my house every day, right? So we always met. My mom picked us up, and she met me at the car, and she just looked at me and she was like, I don't know what your problem is. She's like, he likes me. You're not his type. I am. And so you're just going to need to get over it. And then she proceeded to get in the car and talk to my mother like it was just any other day. And so here I had this girl coming over to my house that I couldn't stand her in that moment. I actually hated her in that moment. And because of all the bullying that had taken place all the years before that, and the guidance counselor telling me I needed to fit in, I just thought, well, okay, that's true. Maybe he likes her more than he likes me. So I just let it, I don't know how I let it go, but I let it go. They dated for a little while and it didn't last. And then she met her now husband just a few weeks after that. So I stayed friends with her and we still did things and hung out all the time and, whatever. So after high school, she dates the guy that she met right after my crush, and they end up engaged and getting married. And so she called me and she said, I want you to be my maid of honor. And I was like, oh my God, of course I'll be your maid of honor. And I took on all those maid of honor duties, the absolute nightmare of a bride that she became. And I sucked up all of the shit talk that she gave me and all of the things I was doing. None of it was good enough, or I was late with this, or why didn't I do this, or why didn't I pick up this? And I just kept taking it. And like, I'm in my 20s now at this point, and I kept taking this bullshit from this girl. And we get to her wedding day and I'm exhausted. And, it's her wedding and I get up there and I give this heartfelt speech and I cry through my speech and everyone thinks that we have this most deep, beautiful friendship and whatever. So her wedding happens. That's fine. About a month after that, they buy a house and they had a housewarming party. And, I go to her housewarming party and I walk into her house and it was a split entry. So you went up or down. And when I went up at the top of her stairs, she had a wall, and I could see when I walked in the door, it was her wedding photos. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's already got her wedding photos and they're framed. And as I made my way up the stairs, like there was a picture of him and her, and then there was a picture of her and the bridal party and the groomsmen. And I could see as I was walking up the stairs, I was like, oh, I remember posing for that picture. And so she's saying her hellos and I'm taking my coat off or whatever. And I look over at him and her, the picture of him and her, and I'm like, oh, that's a beautiful picture. And then my eyes went right back to this group photo. And I looked at it, and then I looked at her, and I looked at it again, and then I looked back at her, and she went, yeah. She said, we photoshopped you out of that photo. And I said, why? She said, well, and here's the thing. Everyone in the bridal party had black hair. She had black hair, her husband, all of the groomsmen just happened to have black hair. And all of her sisters all have black hair, and they were all in the bridal party, and then me. I had lighter hair. At the time, it was kind of like a light red color. So I was the only one with different colored hair. And that's what she said to me. She said, we photoshopped you out for aesthetic purposes because you didn't match the rest of the bridal party. Even telling you this story, I'm like, I'm taken right back. And here I was supposed to spend the weekend with this bitch. And I walk up the stairs and the first thing I see is you effing photoshopped me out of your effing wedding picture after everything we've been through and everything I have done for you and everything my family has done for you. I don't know how I made it through the rest of the party, but I do remember the party was on a Friday night and I was supposed to stay Saturday into Sunday. I went home on Saturday. I faked being sick. I was like, oh, I'm super hungover. I'm going home. the friendship started to get a little bit strained after that point. Like, she kept calling me and like asking me for things, and you're not here for me, and I need you, and blah, blah, blah. And so she gets pregnant. Okay. So fast forward, she gets pregnant. She has a baby. And at this point, they are living about an hour and a half away from me in a different city. And she has the baby, and she's calling me nonstop. Like, why aren't you here? I'm married. I have a baby. Why aren't you here? You're not being a good friend. I need your help. This is hard. You don't understand. You're single. You're never going to get married, and you're never going to have kids. So you're never going to feel what this feels like. So you need to be here for me now. You have to step up and be a better friend. And it was just coming at me. And I went. I thought, well, yeah, she's right. You know, I haven't gone to see the baby. So I get to her place and I make a time and a do over the baby. And then she takes the baby out of my hands and she gives it to her husband. And she says, here, you look after the baby. Jennifer and I are going out. I said, we are? She said, yeah, like, we're going out for lunch. She's like, in fact, you're taking me out for lunch. She's like, I am a new mother and I deserve a lunch. So she's like, get your coat. So we went out for lunch. And so I'm sitting across the table from this girl who I have now realized has been a giant bully my entire life. I'm just like, it's all clicking. Because I'll tell you what happened at lunch. She sits across from me at lunch and she proceeds to tell me that I will never amount and achieve the things that she has achieved in her life, that I will be perpetually single, that men will never choose me, that I am not a good friend and have never been a good friend to her, that she has been the one keeping the friendship together over the years, and that she's the one who helped me make friends. She's the one who helped me. She went on and on and on. And I wasn't saying anything. And she said, so now that I'm a mother, you are going to step up and be a better friend. She said, you are going to be here every weekend, if not every weekend, every other weekend, and you are going to help me. She said, because I deserve that. After everything that I have done for you, she's like, you have to be here for me. Being a new mom is hard. Being a wife is hard. You're never going to understand. Like, guys, it was diabolical. And so then she sits back and she's like, so why don't you stay over tonight? And she's like, my husband can watch the baby and like, let's go out and get drunk or let's go whatever. And I need a drink. Hold on. I remember sitting there and the waitress kept coming over and I could, in my peripheral vision, I could sense that the waitress was like, what the hell is going on with these two? So I remember like pushing my plate back and I just looked at her and I went, okay. And she's like, okay. And I said, but not this weekend. I said, I have a lot of work to do, so I do need to get back. I said, I'll go back and say, goodbye to the baby. And she's like, okay, well, good. She's like, we'll make a schedule, right? Like, you'll be here every weekend. Like, you have to be here for me. And I went, okay. Knowing full well I never would. So I went back and I said goodbye to her husband and goodbye to the baby. And I drove away. And I knew in that moment that I would never see her again. And I don't know if it was the universe that stepped in and just gave me clarity, or if it was just my soul going, Jennifer, you don't deserve this and you don't have to settle for this anymore. And I drove home in peace. I didn't even cry. I drove home in peace and I went, it's the very last time I'm going to see her. And when I tell you I have never seen her again, I've never seen her again. and that was 5 years ago. I've never seen her. I've never crossed paths with her. I've never run into her. I've never run into her husband. I wouldn't even know what her daughter looks like. I know she had more kids after that. She called extensively. I just never picked up. And she left me the nastiest voicemails. But I didn't even listen after a certain point, and I just deleted them. And she eventually gave up. And I'm sure she's running around the world, or was running around the world, saying what a horrible person I was. But something in me clicked where I just couldn't take it anymore. But I will tell you, even though I shut that one down, as I moved through my adult life, the trauma from her still surfaced, because every time I met a new female, like a woman that came into my life, I was hesitant. I was like, is this going to be like, and some of them were. The universe kept putting more bullies in my path because I still hadn't set those boundaries. I was still too soft. Yes, I had cut her off and I was pretty proud, but the universe was like, you're not done. We know you're not done. You just gave up on that one, but we know you're not done. And they gave me 4, 5, 6 more, even just a few years ago, gave me a few more when it comes to, like I said, friends, and most recently, a couple of years ago, a boss that was an absolute bully. So I hadn't learned the full lesson. Even though I got part of it, I hadn't learned the full lesson. So I'm telling you all of this in a very long-winded way to say that all of your bullies are lessons, and they're harsh ones, and they're probably karmic, and there are going to be more than one until you open up that throat chakra and you speak up for yourself and you put boundaries around your energy and your heart and your time. And the biggest lesson for me, and I think anyone who has stuck around this long, who understands these deep effects of bullying, your self-worth. Because what I've come to realize is that none of what she has said to me is true. None of it was. I am a good friend. I was a good friend. I am a good person. I know these things to be true. They were always true. And right back to that guidance counselor that told me I needed to fit in. My little soul, my little teenage soul knew that wasn't right. And my adult soul knows that wasn't right. And I'm not trying to fit in anywhere anymore. And you don't have to either. Just shine your light. Turn your light on. Shine it and be who you are. Fly your freak flag. Do the weird things. Say the weird things. Do what you want. Wear what you want. Say what you want. Express yourself. It is okay. Because none of what these people have said to you is true. And none of what these bullies have done to you is your fault. Okay? They were giant karmic lessons. And if you are the same age as me and you are working through some of this ridiculously long karma, just know that I am right there with you and I understand it. Even if you don't have long history with bullying, maybe you have a smaller history. Again, I'm going back to the beginning of the video. It's not your fault. And it's a lesson, okay? And when you're in it, sometimes it's hard to see it, but it's a lesson. The long-term effects of bullying is real. It was real because I went into the world thinking I was less than and not worthy of this job or this person or this boyfriend or this whatever. And it's taken 46 years, and you know what, even a little bit, even these past 2, to just scrape through some of the last bits of this long-term effect, because there's still, even before I started this channel, a little bit of that PTSD from bullying surfaced, because I was like, no one's going to want to hear what you have to say, Jennifer. No one's going to listen to your videos. No one's going to watch them. But that was PTSD. And I had to shut that down pretty quickly and realize that the right people will be drawn to me, the right community and group. And I'm sitting here in front of you right now telling you that I do not have any close female friends right now. I don't. There isn't a single woman that I can call right now and let it all out to. And part of that is me still working through some PTSD, but part of that is also me realizing that friendships shouldn't be that much work, and they shouldn't come with me feeling like I have to shrink or feeling like I have to please and mold myself to be their friend. And it's the same with romantic partners, right? So, are there new friendships headed your way and my way that are aligned? 1000%. Because if you've reached a point with me here and we've learned our lessons from these bullies and we've learned to heal all of the things that they were here to teach us, I know I'm calling in new soul sisters, and I'm calling in women who I will be able to just be myself with, and them with me. It's this beautiful reciprocity that has become the number one thing that I'm looking for in any relationship, is reciprocity. Romantic, familiar, platonic, whatever, reciprocity. And reciprocity and authenticity. So I know, sitting here in front of you right now, I don't have a girl gang. I don't have girls' nights. I don't have a circle of girls that are my friends. But that's not going to be forever. I do know that the universe didn't take me through this gigantic journey through these bullies just to be like, cool, and have me sit here alone. I know I've got some beautiful soul sisters headed my way, and I'm excited to meet them, and I'm excited to have them come into my life and me into theirs, where neither of us have to perform, and we may be able to share some of these experiences that we've been through, but then truly just be there for one another. And I will be able to be vulnerable and myself and not feel like I have to turn my light off so that I don't shine as bright. We can both shine brightly together. So that is the gist of the video. Holy smokes, this one's going to be a bit long. I want to wrap it up by saying two things. Number one, if you stayed all the way through this video, I'm sending you a giant hug, because I know that the long-term effects of bullying are challenging. And if you even resonated with a little bit of what I said here, I feel you. Please give yourself some grace and allow yourself to heal through the trauma that they've brought you. If you are currently in a workplace where you're being bullied, it's hard, but you're going to have to speak up for yourself. Learn to speak up for yourself. Heal that throat chakra. You can do that by listening to some sound frequencies, meditating, working on setting boundaries, and being able to express yourself without worrying about the repercussions, because I want that for you. And I want you to also call in your soul tribe. I hope they find you. In fact, I know that they'll find you, because the universe is like that. They take us through this journey of all of these harsh karmic lessons, but then they don't just go, okay, cool. They're like, here comes some effing amazing people into your life. Okay? So the long-term effects of bullying are real, but I want you to cut yourself some grace. The last thing I want to say is I do see my crush from a long time ago. Once in a while, I ran into him once at an airport. We were both flying home from somewhere. We were both actually at the same conference, but we didn't realize it. He's a happily married man with beautiful children, but I keep checking the time. I get a little emotional thinking about this. When we sat down next to each other at the airport a few years back, there was this unspoken thing where it was almost like he knew and I knew that what had happened years ago, I think he felt bad. It was just this energy exchange where he was like, it's really good to see you. And I said, it's really good to see you too. Like, I hope you're well. And he was like, I am. He's like, it's been a while. And then we reminisced a little bit, and it was so healing. And the only reason I'm getting emotional is because it took that little meeting, and I know the universe orchestrated that meeting so that I could heal that last little bit. Because now he can stay in my mind the sweet crush that he always was. He can still have that place where I can go back to and be like, oh, I've never had a crush like that before, and I probably never will. And that's something that he and I can share. So I know the universe orchestrated that little airport conversation because it was just so sweet. I can't explain it to you how sweet it was. But anyway, I'm running out of time. Sorry. I didn't mean to ramble on for almost an hour, but this video is going to be an hour. So if you stayed this long, I'm super, super grateful. And I appreciate you very much. Thank you for having this Jenspiration conversation with me. And I wish you well. Please look after yourself. And I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.